Hey, Prash. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
I can hear you.
We are live. I'm gonna put you on screen.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly all right. Yeah. So I'm gonna make ourselves live. Let me do that quickly. Here we are. Hey, Prash.
Hey, Niroshan. Good to be here with you.
Absolutely.
It's been much anticipated to do a live here with both of us together.
Same here.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah, surely. It's my pleasure as well. It's great that you are here because I always believe two heads are much better than just one head. So
it always can make a difference. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so I think people are starting to join as well. So we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube.
Good to be here with everyone.
Yes, so let's give them some more time to join. But I think as a check-in, I would like to invite all of you who are with us on this particular session to comment. If you're on Facebook, put a comment on your Facebook chat saying your name and where you are from. If you are from LinkedIn, do the same thing, right? At the same time, if you have any questions, any challenges that you face yourself to find your best self, put them down in the comment section. So we're going to pick them shortly. Yeah. So with that, Prash, I think we can start it because we are going to do a time box meeting, absolutely time box to 30 minutes, no more than 30 minutes. So we shall start. So let me quickly give a quick introduction to myself, and then I'm going to ask Prash to give a quick intro himself as well. I'm Niroshan Madhampitike. I'm an enterprise agile coach as well as an international keynoter. So my passion has been talking to the people around me and then finding various ways to help you guys out. So if you have come across my profile, I'm basically, my expertise is on agile coaching and project delivery management. So any area where you think I can be help, I'm more than happy to work with you. So with that, I'm going to ask Prash to give a quick introduction yourself.
Thank you, Niroshan. So for myself, it's funny you say that. I come from a background of technology. I'm London-based. I lived in the UK most of my life, and I've spent over 4 decades living, and half of those 4 decades working in the city of London.
Right.
Largely large corporates, well-known organizations, JP Morgan, Deutsche, various investment-backed organizations, as well as big and small businesses and consulting to them. And it's strange because some of my background does cover project management, project and program management, and working and delivering in that facility and arena. And it was a strange parallel life that led me on the path of self-development, personal growth, mindset strategy, and all these other disciplines, even esoteric spiritual disciplines along that journey. It was almost like leading a double life, corporate on the one hand, and a sort of Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins wannabe kind of life at the same time on the other side. And that's kind of led me to where I am today. So I have made that transition, having spent so many years in corporate and experiencing and seeing firsthand the problems that leaders and high achieving professionals were facing when it comes to managing stress, managing their workloads, increasing productivity, and finding that fulfillment and that drive to actually really take their career to the next level, to take their work to the next level in a very heart-centered way. And I found that a big gap. And that's why I kind of moved and took all my coaching and training into that arena. And of course, I kind of do this full time now. I have the pleasure of working with the people that I used to serve in corporate and doing this full time and helping people in that journey.
All right, fantastic. I know the most strange thing and the most exciting thing here is that you just echo my insight, right? Because I have almost the same background as you do, and we just happened to meet one of the LinkedIn session that I did. That was my second LinkedIn. Prior that we were connected,
Yes.
that was the moment we thought we can make it a win-win, and we can help people around us to get some tips and tricks from our perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump in, right? Hello, everyone. Just to remind you, what we are going to talk about today is it's simply finding your best self. 8 years ago, when I was a manager at a big bank, global bank, I came across this particular magical management concept called manage at your best. Now, I was a manager by then, and the term was coined during a training, and I was pretty much inspired by that. And I thought, oh, this is what a great concept it is. Now, if I'm a manager,
Mm,
my focus is to manage my people at my best, right? That essentially means I should be in my best form emotionally, physically, mentally, and socially for me to manage people around me. And that gave me provisioning to talk about one more concept, that is be at your best. That's simply
mm,
finding your best self. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what exactly your profession, your domain, what you're trying to do in this world, right? Any one of us need to find our best self. So this talk is all about that. In that, Prash is gonna enlighten us on one term, that is resilience. Resilience, and Prash is gonna give us a few tips from his coaching expertise for us to find our best form and then be resilient in the next challenging situation. So it's all about being at your best and then being resilient in your tough times. Yeah. So now, Prash, I just want to ask you a question. Now, what is your best form, right? Just tell me kind of few feelings and your perception around this term, right?
mm.
What it means to you. What is finding someone's best self?
For me, finding someone's best self is taking a two-pronged approach, where you are a subjective and an objective approach. A subjective approach means that there has to be ourselves and somebody else outside of ourselves to help to bring out the best in ourselves. Subjectively, we need to learn to be able to audit those things. And I think you hit it very beautifully, by the way, when you said that we want to be at ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically. I would add spiritually as well. And so exactly as you said, we should be able to be in a position where we can do a self audit of where we feel we are and where the gaps we perceive to be within our four areas that we just touched on there. And then an external party, somebody who we trust, a confidant, a work colleague, perhaps a friend or family member, somebody who we respect and who we don't mind taking feedback from, would also do a similar analysis. And that to me is the foundation of building our best self, by using those tools.
Perfect, perfect. I love your definition as well. Now, as you rightly said, if we try to define this term, be at yourself for the benefit of our viewers and audience, it's simply finding your best form
Mm,
in these conditions. First, physically. Now, one thing I believe is that if you are not physically fit, you're not at your best, right? You may have big dreams and big goals to achieve, but you're not going to achieve any of them. So the first thing
right.
is being physically fit, right? Physically at the best form possible, right? That's why you see that
Agreed.
all the great people, including, you brought up one of my inspirational, characters, Tony Robbins. I mean, he would exercise daily basis. Ask asking
Right.
from anyone, right? Period. Anyone will have to do that. Otherwise, we will not find our best self. Personally, I do the same. I'm sure, Prash, you are on your routine, right? You're not going to skip that because that will not allow you to find your best self. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the mental fitness, right? Most of the time,
Yes.
we are not at our best. We are not at our best form due to the fact that we haven't found our best mental form, right? The mental
Right.
state. It's all about the mind. It's a mind game, right? It's half the battle. So if you can fix
It
your,
is half the battle.
yeah, sometimes it's more than that, right? Uh, so if you can,
For sure.
yeah. So if you can find the best mind, right mindset, state of mind, I think we all will be able to do greater, much greater. So that is something that I found, and also as you said, spiritually as well as socially, right? More
Very
importantly,
much so.
emotionally. I think these five aspects are what we are trying to balance out in our day-to-day life, day in, day out.
Yes, and I think this applies across the board. I mean, whoever's tuning into this and whoever watches this on the replay, whichever level you are at in your organization, or if you're a business owner, whichever role or hat that we wear, and that
Yeah,
role and hat changes, these attributes are still applicable to us all. We all have these attributes to our personality. We all have these attributes to our being. They make the totality of our being. And it's just the variables may change. Some roles and some positions may require a greater level of emotional resilience, for example. Others will require a greater degree of physical resilience. And therefore, the mix may change. But ultimately, having these pillars is the basis for being your best self, and also to develop that resiliency that we need, especially in this day and age where people are treading on eggshells because we have at least in the UK, we have a very politically correct landscape. People are very scared to express themselves for fear of being judged. In America, we have the litigation. We have the litigation love. People love
right.
litigation. And so everybody's kind of scared about offending somebody else's feeling. And it's almost like when we're prodded even a little bit, we get upset. And
Yeah.
that's really breaking us, right? What would you say?
Same here, same here. I totally agree, right? So, I mean, you touched on something very, very crucial. Sometimes our cultural background, the social setting, is
Yeah,
something that's hugely impacting. Finding that best self. So it's important that we kind of identify what kind of social context we are in, and then accordingly plan yourself, right? For example, if you are with the wrong crowd, right, that should not put your state of mind down, right?
shouldn't
That
put your
should
straight
not
of mind down.
throw
Absolutely.
you. Yeah. So this is the most crucial thing, and being aware of this particular topic, being aware that this is an art and a science, right? It's not a magical thing just to keep your
No.
state of mind at the right form. Will set you for the best, right? And I mean, that's it. I think that gives a very clear picture. Maybe quickly, Prash, what we can do is we can have a look at LinkedIn chat to see whether anyone is commenting anything. So let me quickly pull that out. So if you
Yep.
have just
Pull
joined,
that out.
uh, yeah, if you have anything that needs to be added, anyone who has joined other than Prash, please put your comments down. We will try to pick them up. But today's session is just 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's time boxed to a 30 minutes time window. So we will try our best to conclude the session within that time. But if you have any questions, put them down. We're going to pick them even after the session. All right. So with that, let's move
So
on.
let me.
Okay,
I'd love
so
to ask a question to the audience out
let's,
here.
let's get started talking about basically, getting a deep dive into these two terms. Number one, be at your best. Second,
Right.
resilient. Now, if you try to dig deeper into the first topic, that is be at your best, finding your best. I would like to talk about few strategies where we can actually utilize in order to find our best self, right? We may understand the concept. We may understand, okay, it's important that we need to find our best selves. The most important question is how. So we
How?
probably understand why now, by now, right? So, Prash, what I can do is I'll start with my thoughts. You can add on to what
Of
I'm
course.
saying. Now, if I give you some tips to find your best self, the first thing, the most crucial first step for us is this. It's basically uh, being aware of your mindset. Now, example, I want to quickly state one of the mind-blowing experiences. I want you to stay very, very positive just hearing that, because I was positive going through this incident. It was a cemetery. I was holding a just, few hours old baby. I was carrying him, and then I knew that I have to drop that toddler very soon and bury him. And you won't believe that it was my own son who just went away just 2 hours before the delivery. Now imagine happening
My
something
gosh.
like that. What would be your mindset? What would be your state of mind? And I can assure that, right? I was kind of going through kind of a panicking situation for a few hours,
Of
but
course.
the moment I step into the cemetery carrying the toddler, I was fully ready to go through that situation. And I can tell you that that was a moment that actually gave me the biggest lesson in my life. The lesson is that whatever the circumstance you are going through should never put you down, should never destroy you, right? So if you are mindful, if you are kind of having in control yourself, you should be in a position to manage any given challenge so effectively, so that you don't even have to cry, you don't have to scream and shout. So that's basically my first tip, right? If whatever it is, I don't know what you're going through. I'm sure we all go through a lot of problems, right? The realization that we can face any tough situation, and these tough situations should never put us down, is the first step. So you need to get that into your core. You need to start kind of realizing this until you are very familiar with it. Then any moment a challenge comes at you, you know the reaction. You're not gonna get the panicking
Agreed.
attack, right? So that's the science behind it. The science is simply
Let me let
the fight between
I
the cortex and your thalamus, right? Cortex is the part of the brain that takes the rational thinking. It's responsible for your rational thinking, and thalamus is the brain component, the segment that will take you out of your cortex, rational thinking. That is needed at times, but that's not needed when you even face a situation like that. Yeah. So I think that's my first tip. You want to add anything?
Yes, I would. Let me add in as we go through these tips.
Start
I'm
on
going to
muted,
layer.
so I
Let
don't hear.
me. I should be just fine. Can you hear me?
Not yet. What happened?
I'm definitely not muted.
No, not yet. Prash, do you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. Could you check the mic?
Everything's nice and clear here.
Not yet, Prash. So I don't hear you, unfortunately.
Okay, can you hear me now? Bear with me. You should be able to hear me. Let me just switch the
Oh, Prash, yes. Yeah, I hear you now. It was
Okay,
my
can
bad.
you hear me now?
It was my bad.
Okay,
Yeah,
good stuff. So you should be able to hear me nice and clear. What I wanted to add into that is your tip number one. Let me just layer in a tip from the mindset and resilience side of things. And as a way to do that, one way to do that is to reframe the thought that we're having, reframe the emotion that's coming our way. So
that's
the
exactly what I
emotion that may be attacking us, the emotion that is assaulting us, imagine it's an emotion of great grief.
Yep.
There's a concept in positive psychology called delayed gratification. It's about delaying the desire for something enjoyable because there's
Absolutely.
something higher to achieve. There's something
Correct.
more important to achieve in the moment. And therefore, we delay the sensory enjoyment of something that we want to do, whether it be an item of food or a drink or whatever it is. In a similar way, sometimes we, as leaders, as professionals, as business owners, I think, Nirishan, we can definitely benefit by reframing our thoughts and applying that delayed emotional response. You see, here's the thing. There's no point in suppressing. We know this. Suppression isn't the answer. But to delay the response by reframing our thoughts in that moment. I had this when I lost my arms and he my arms as he died in my arms. As he was dying in my arms, I had to change my thinking from one of great shock and emotion to here is here is a person who I've lived with my whole life. He is about to leave his body. I need to be extremely focused and be ready to attend to what happens next. I was able to switch and reframe my thoughts to I need to be here in this situation and have my senses around me in a calm way to deal with this. I will respond to the grieving and the pain. I will give it a voice, but later on. And therefore, what I'm proposing is we reframe our thoughts and delay that response. And there's a way to learn to do that. And obviously, in future lives, Nirishan, I'm sure we can elaborate on how we can do that. But it's the first thing to acknowledge.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I totally agree with you, right? So reframing the situation is exactly what I had to do, right? So I saw a big panicking situation where I would have kind of cried, screamed, and thought this is it. This is the end of my world,
Yeah, it's
right?
like
So I had
it's the end.
it's the end, yeah. So I managed to reframe it. Now the matter of fact that Prash, so there were some indications that the pregnancy was complicated, right? There was some indication that some bigger risk is upfront, right? So the moment
Right.
I got to know that, I had to reframe the situation to a better one. And I can tell you that was the best moment in our family where I managed to uh, coach my daughter to understand what real life is about. She was just nine
Right.
years old, 8 years old.
Incredible.
8 years old, and still I was able to take this opportunity to tell her what this life is all about. And you won't believe, now she's joining me in my keynote. She's taking the same stage that I did, right? Talking about the
Incredible.
personal. Yeah. So that was the moment, and that is why I'm saying, any greater, challenge, tougher situation that you face is the right opportunity for you as well. So you reframe it, right? So when you face something tragic, when you face something so challenging, know that there is a great opportunity in it.
There is, and we need to learn to be able to find that. What would be your second tip? I'd love to hear your second tip.
Okay, yeah. So the second tip is also somewhat connected to this, right? So have you heard of? I probably, we haven't had that discussion prior. I'm asking the audience as well. Have you guys heard of something called habit loop? So you need to be aware of it. Habit loop is generally what you get into when you see a similar situation. Example, when you see fire, you really don't have to think anything, right? There's a processing in your brain psychology. Your brain helps you to get out of that fire, right? Simply using the habit loop. How it works is the brain registers whatever the experience you go through, and then it
Right.
also knows what is the shortest path to get away or face that situation. And the moment you see fire, another fire, your brain picks the most easiest action and tells you. So you got to just act, and you have no time to think. So that's basically your thalamus taking in action, right? Taking the control of you. So if you are aware of this, what you do is what exactly Prash suggested earlier. You got to just pause yourself. You got to just delay your response. You got to, even tips like, start counting from 1,000 to 1,000 to 1 backward will take you
Right.
out of emotional hijacking. It's called emotional hijacking, right? You are being emotionally hijacked, and your thalamus takes control of your situation. You should simply be careful not to let that happen, because you are not guaranteed whether the response you get is the most rational one or not. Most likely it's not, because it's not coming from any rational thinking. It's coming from emotional reaction from your brain. Yeah, so that's basically the second tip that I could share.
That's a beautiful tip, and you hit and you touched on a great way to address that. And it's when I with a lot of the coaching clients that I work with, especially those who are kind of high flyers, um, city execs and professionals, I call it the 10-to-1 rule.
Okay.
And the 10-to-1 rule is what you said. It's counting down 10-to-1, but it's done
Yeah.
in a specific way. We do it in blocks of 5. So I have them take a deep breath.
Yeah. Right.
And in their mind, they count down from 5 down to 1. Then they
Okay.
repeat that twice or 3 times if they have to. And what that does is it immediately creates a momentary snap or a break. It's a pattern break from that habit loop. It's exactly that. The habit loop is happening. This is the break in that. It is a state break. Tony Robbins would call it a state break. That state break, that state break, that momentary gap that you create by using this breathing technique, which comes from yogic science, from the ancient science of yoga from India. That little gap allows you to modulate the response to something that's going to be more likely to serve the situation, rather than let your emotions, as you say, your thymus, or some would argue your reptile brain, leading you down a path which wouldn't be suitable for that situation. It allows our intellect to come back into check and allow our intellect to override our emotions. It's like an override switch. So something for all of you to consider, for all of us, really. I mean, it's something that we can all use. Nirishan, back to you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your insight as well. It's looks like we are really in line in what you're talking, guys. We have never prepared for this thing. We never knew
This
what
is
we are going to talk
freestyled.
about. This is freestyle, really open-ended discussion. We never knew what we are going to talk about even. We just knew we know something that we can share with you. We know that we have kind of mastered it ourselves and wanted to share that with you. Yeah.
And
So
can I just add here that this right here, this
yeah.
live is a great example of being at your best and developing resilience. Here are two people we've only met recently on LinkedIn. We've had some exchanges. We've had very little time to get to know each other per se, but there was a sense, an unspoken gut feeling that there's a good connection there. And we've literally gone on that gut feeling of connection and our mutual desire just to share good stuff with people. And this is how this has come about. It shows that you can be at your best, sometimes at your very best, by listening to your gut, balancing that with what our emotions say. Sometimes you have to override the intellect and listen to what your gut is saying. And sometimes you have to override your emotions and listen to what the intellect is saying. And that, my friends, is an art that I guess Nirish and you and I are both learning in our own ways. And of course, we have the privilege of sharing with everybody we work with, whether we keynote on stage or whether we're working in offices and in corporations. This is the joy that we have to serve people. So, folks, I hope this is inspiration for you as well. Nirishan, back to you.
Thank you. Surely, yeah. So if it inspires, ourselves, each other, I'm sure this is gonna be a help to the people watching. Yeah, so let's hope for that. Uh, we promised something. We said it's a time box. Looks like we are going to break it a bit, but not to take so much time than what we planned. Prash, I just want to give you the kind of the last opportunity, because I want to hear from you. I can always share, because this is a weekly LinkedIn Live. I just want to hear a bit more on resilience. Can you share with us few more tips about being resilient? If now, let's say I face a bigger challenge that I have never thought of, right? You never know, because life is so uncertain, right? Something that's certain is that it's so uncertain. You never know what you're going to face next moment. But how can I prepare for that? How can I
Oh,
be resilient?
beautiful question. And I want to share two additional insights that I've found personally helpful in my life, in the lives of my coaching clients, and in the retreats that I run. It's actually one of our favorite workshops where we run workshops and take people through experiential sessions on wellness retreats that I've been running for many years. And I want to share a couple of tips from that. So there are two additional things. Firstly, it's about being flexible in how we respond to the situation. So let me give you the analogy from the world of martial arts. I'm a martial arts practitioner as a
Right,
hobbyist. It's not my profession. So one of the martial arts I do is Kali. It's a Filipino martial art, and it has its origins in India. It's also known as a screamer. It was used in the famous Bourne trilogy, the Bourne Ultimatum, the Bourne Legacy trilogy of movies. It's a martial art that very much relies on responding based on the energy that it's receiving from the attacker. So if
right,
somebody's taking a punch at you and they're coming straight forward, there are multiple responses to a punch that comes straight forward to you. I can
right.
either block that punch here like that,
Yeah,
but that's fighting power with power. I can do a traditional karate thing, which is to do an upward block like this, and you can block the punch this way. If the punch is coming this way, you can block it here. I'm kind of showing the camera, you can block it.
yeah.
Another way is to pass it. Now, passing the punch means that as it comes, you just redirect it.
You're
That's
right.
all you're doing. So there are multiple ways to deal with an attack. So using that analogy, whichever predicament or situation that we're in, we need to start becoming more open and aware to see what other ways we can respond to that situation, and realize that the way that there is no perfect way to respond to a situation, but there is an ideal way, number one. But part two of that is recognize that the ideal way may not be the immediate way. We may need an interim method to deal with the situation that we're in before we find a solution. Let me give a practical example. You're in a situation where you're about to potentially lose a massive client.
Right,
Something has happened in your organization, and that client, there's a reputational damage potentially being done to your client. You or your colleagues are, responsible for it, and you are about to be facing a situation where they may walk away, and you're going to meet their director or whoever it is, and he's going to have a showdown with you. Now, at that point in time, you can panic and have your defense mechanism up and say, well, I'm going to prove to him that it wasn't us and it wasn't our fault. And you can line up all your defenses. That's one way to deal with the situation. But here's another way. Another way might be, well, you know what? This guy's going to come in, that director's going to come in. I'm going to just sit there. I'm going to hear everything he's got to say. I'm not going to argue with him. I'm not going to have any defenses. I'm just going to let him speak. I'm then
right.
going to, when he's had a chance, I'm going to propose that we meet again a day later or 2 days later, and I will have the right people on my side, on my team there, and we will address his concerns point by point. So you literally go in there saying, I just want to know, I want to acknowledge that you feel really bad in the situation. I want to acknowledge that you feel very upset and you're considering finishing your services with us. But I'd like to give this chance for you, therefore, to voice your concerns, voice your upsetness, and I'm just going to take notes today. That's all I'm going to do. So what I'm proposing here is, when we're in these difficult situations, let's start thinking about how we can come up with an immediate response that's a temporary or an interim measure to get us through the situation, and then look at a more idealistic or a proper response later. So combining these two factors allows us to change the response that we have and improve the way we respond to a situation. So that's tip number one. And I know we're mindful of time, but I'm going to give tip number two, which I think is equally important.
Right.
And folks, that is to have part of building our resilience is not to purely rely on ourselves. This is a misconception that in order to build resilience, we can only depend on us.
Right.
Actually, we must learn to harness the power of the people in our network. We must learn to build a tribe of people who can be around us and help us during those times. And therefore, I would say the second tip I want to leave everybody with to build our resilience is to actually build the quality of our support network. Have friends or work colleagues or people around you who you're able to voice. And they may not be on your level. They may be from different professions or different industries or different skills. That's okay. The idea is to have people who are able to understand your nature, who are able to understand your particular skill set and your foibles, your weaknesses, your vulnerability. Somebody who you can be that open and vulnerable with is the sort of person who would make a great support person during those difficult times, so that before you make a decision and respond in those difficult times, you're able to pull back, pull the 10 down to 1 method, breathe, and go back and reach out to one of those 4 or 5 people, because they may not always be available at the same time, but reach out to one of that network of 4 or 5 trusted people to get a view, to help you to shift your perspective and help you to feel that resilience that you yourself couldn't do when you're in the heat of the moment.
Spot on. This is perfectly beneficial for me even. Yeah, so this adds on top of what I know about this topic, right? Now, to conclude the session, Prash, one more thing that I want to add, just to bridge the gap here, is distractions. Now, keeping away the distraction, being aware of the distractions in reaching out to your goal, facing a challenging situation is absolutely crucial. Now, I'll tell you how it works. Now, let's say you are trying to go through a very tough situation, and someone in your network, someone around you is not helping you, right? Example, I'll take one example. Now, let's say I want to quit my smoking. I want to be resilient. I want to be at my best, and I feel like smoking is a bad thing, right? It has compromised my health, and I want to get out of that habit. Now, the problem might be the distractions, right? You might be at the best energy to quit, but the moment you are being distracted by your colleagues, like for example, even a party could be the distraction that does not allow you to get out of that bad habit, right?
Absolutely.
So, figuring out the possible distractions, being aware these are the distractions that can come your way, will greatly help you to get away from a tough time or even reaching a bigger goal. So I call this now when I started being aware of this particular topic, when I wanted to find my best self, I had to live by that, right? Otherwise, I sound like preaching, but I fail in front of my wife and my kid, right? Can't be the same. I take my daughter, to my keynote. She talks as well as I talk. When I preach about these things, she listens. I don't want to be just a preacher. So I had to kind of master this at a very deeper level. So what I say is this: when there's a friend to fight, conflict with my wife or my relatives, parents even, I simply say this, right? Do we need to waste energy just going through this experience? Or you want to just pause? That's it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's because I'm aware, right? I really know because I have a busy schedule like you do, you guys do, right? Yeah. So the problem is this: if I'm distracted, if I'm ready to waste my energy for a silly fight like that, I'm not at my best all the time, and maybe the entire day is gone just because of a silly fight like that, right? How can you? That's it. So with all these tips that we shared, right, what can change your game, what can put you at the right spot, is being aware of the distraction and then plan for your responses, right? Don't let that be a spontaneous response, and you never know what you're going to respond with, right? So
Yeah, very much so.
that will basically allow all of us to be at our best, find our best, and stay at our best. So this
At
is,
our best.
yes, and I think this is it for the day, because we, as we said, we just wanted to limit the time so that this is kind of a concise talk, allowing you to get some insightful tips and tricks, but not so long and detailed tips, right? That's This is not the end. We are gonna be in touch with you. We are gonna come live probably another day. Prash, we can dig deeper. We can go and expand on the same topic. You want to talk about various other things that we basically sell, right? So you are a coach. You basically coach and sell these contents. Same way, right? So in my job as an agile coach, this is my core, right? Because when I work with people, when I work with the clients, I need to live by these things. So it's directly related to what we are doing. Same way, it doesn't matter what you are doing. I mean, people watching us, being connected to us, it doesn't matter what profession you are in, what job you are doing, what domain expertise you have. This is
Right.
this is valid for all of us. So that's why we talk about it. Otherwise, our my profession is not just talking about the mindset, but it's a bigger part of my role. It's a bigger part of
Absolutely.
what I do with people, right? So that's basically the reason why we thought this is going to be a great topic for all of us, and we are able to share some tips that you can start adopting in your life. Yeah, Prash, I'll ask you to do the end note, kind of the checkout. Yeah.
Of course, folks, as Nirishan has very appropriately said, we're all on a we're all on our growing journeys. We've all had different experiences on our lives, in our corporate or business lives and our personal lives. Excuse me. We've all faced some sort of loss or difficulty in our times.
Yep.
And I think one message I want us to really focus on is how we can learn to be more open about what mistakes, what losses we've had. Because by beginning to be more open and allowing ourselves to be just a little bit more vulnerable in front of people, we're going to start to break those old paradigms of needing to be supposedly with it, supposedly perfect, supposedly all together in the business world, when the reality is not that. And we almost forget that we're actually human beings. All business is based on human relations. We forget that sometimes. As you can see, I'm far from perfect. I'm still recovering from a cold after a good 15 days. It's been an infection. But as you can see, we roll with the punches. Nirishan and I came together on this live, hardly knowing each other, but just having a sense, a gut sense that there's some good common vibration, and that the combination of our time together would be beneficial to those who tune in some small way. And I hope that this gives you all permission to build your resilient muscles, to increase find your best self factor, and start to show up that way more and more, while maintaining that integrity and that vulnerability, to remind the people that you work with and the people that you live with that you are a human being first, with a heart and a soul, and a business person second. And the more we start to really embrace that, the more beautiful our businesses and our work lives can be. And that's something I share and I'm very passionate about in all the offerings that I do. And obviously with the Stress to Success program, it's a core part, that human side. And I know you resonate with that, Nirishan, yourself in your own work in your keynotes. So I hope that we can continue this dialogue and help to serve you in some way. And if you feel that, we can be of any help to you in your organizations, or you'd like us to keynote, please do reach out to both Nirishan and myself, respectively. It will be a pleasure to explore what we can do for you and with you. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Prash. It's really, really wonderful.
Thank you, Nirishan, for maintaining such consistency and smiling no matter what happens. You're always smiling. It's a special quality of yours. You're living your resilience.
Thank you. Yes, I must say, trying. Yes, it's always challenging, but I think that should be the attitude and the approach that we all of us have to take, right? And just to again end this, guys, these two terms. Remember this. Master it further. Google, find your own way of working around these two topics, because I and Prash promise that these two terms can change your game, can change your life. Starting from doing a simple meeting, right? Being at your best is so relevant. Being at your best in a meeting, even a meeting like this, right? Ensuring that we are not being distracted, ensuring that we pay the full attention and we are in the moment. So this is the same thing applies to any situation that we may face in our life. And with that, we want to end up this session. I hope all of you enjoyed this as well. So if you really like this comment, like it, react to it, and share this with your colleagues and family, and also your network, because this may be the message that your connections are looking for. Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
With that, we are saying bye for now, and we'll see you soon.
Bye for now. Find us on LinkedIn. You have Nirishan's details, and you have mine, Prash Kotecha, Kotecha. Look us up. We look forward to serving with you. Take care. Thanks, Nirishan.
Thanks a lot, Prash. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.